Hi, and season's greetings, everyone. Welcome to the December 27, 2020 online service of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington, Vermont. Our UU congregation acknowledges that our meeting house, located in the heart of downtown Burlington and the surrounding community, is built on the unceded territory of the Western Abenaki people. I'm Doug Facey, a member of the Worship Associate team. Thanks very much for setting aside time in your busy schedules to spend some time with us today. Unitarian Universalists come from many spiritual backgrounds and traditions, and we welcome all who share in our commitment to building a world community based on equity, justice, compassion, peace, and respect for the environment which supports us all. So whoever you are, wherever you are, wherever you come from, or wherever you're going, please know that you are welcome here. To learn more about who we are, please click on the link at the end of this video or go to our website at uusociety.org. Feel free to tell us who you are, and if you wish, we can get back to you to answer any questions that you may have. These services are a team effort. So on behalf of the Worship Associate team, I wish to thank Reverend Patricia Hart, Peter Newport, Sam Whitesell, James Stewart, Michael Wright, Wayne Schneider, Erica Reef, Margot Whitcomb, Mary Williams, and everyone else who helps make our online recorded services possible.
Say the words with me. We kindle this chalice flame to remind ourselves of the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. The call to worship this morning is, the title is A Prayer of Good Intention, and it was written by that famous author, Anonymous. A prayer of good intention. Dear Lord, so far I've done all right. I haven't gossiped, haven't lost my temper, haven't been greedy, grumpy, nasty, selfish, or overindulgent. I'm really glad about that. But in a few minutes, God, I'm going to get out of bed. And from then on, I'm going to need a lot of help.
Now let us enter together into a time of reflection and meditation. Please settle your mind. Briefly tune out the world around you. Take a deep breath. Breathing in, the breath of life. Breathing out, the breath of peace. And enter a state of stillness and reflection. As we enter the silence, let us hold in our hearts our own personal joys and sorrows, as well as those of our community, keeping in mind that the joys and sorrows of each of us are the joys and sorrows of all of us, reminding us of our shared humanity. Deep sorrow for the tragic loss of life during the ongoing pandemic, and for those led astray by dangerous misinformation, which divides our communities and shatters our humanity. Joy and thanks for the public health officials and heroic healthcare workers tirelessly working to keep us safe. Hope for positive, civil, and constructive national re-engagement with the global community in the months ahead. This brief recorded reflection is for the December 27th service. So I want to recognize this season of many celebrations. Hanukkah ended about a week and a half ago, or almost a week past the winter solstice, celebrated in many ways around the world, such as Yule in many Druid traditions, Dongji in East Asia, including China, Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. The time of winter solstice is also an important milestone for many original peoples, such as the Abenaki in our region, for whom the last new moon before the solstice marks the end of the old year, and the next moon marks a time of renewal. It is also the season of Kwanzaa for those honoring their African heritage this week, with celebrations of the first fruits or early harvests around the time of the summer solstice in the Southern Hemisphere. And we're now just a couple days past Christmas, and New Year's Day, January 1, is just around the corner. Another traditional time for celebration, but as we know all too well, these are not traditional times. For many of us, 2020 can't end soon enough. We long to move on to a new year with the hopes that things will be improving for all of us. This year certainly felt like a long year. And it was, thanks in part due to the fact that it was a leap year. We had an extra day, February 29th, just as the pandemic was exploding in some parts of the US. So we are all ready to move on. But we also know that many of the challenges of 2020 will be with us well into 2021. So it won't be easy to turn the page or start a new chapter. It will continue to feel like 2020 for quite some time. We must acknowledge that during this season of celebrations, it has been difficult for many of us to feel celebratory, at least in the ways that we've been accustomed to. But together, we have found new ways to remain connected and celebrate traditions, even if at a distance, and also begin some new traditions. And in some cases, celebrations can be postponed until conditions for being together improve. Things are looking brighter in the months ahead. Although the next few months will continue to be difficult, relief is on the way. There is hope. Brighter days are ahead, and not only because the days are getting longer. But in the meantime, we need to continue to do our best to help ourselves as well as to help one another. The approach of a new year can bring additional pressure and stress regarding finishing up old business to try to create a clean slate for the year ahead. Perhaps setting some goals or making some resolutions. But one thing that none of us needs at this time is additional pressure, stress, or anxiety about becoming ready to begin a new year. So I had the following thought. Don't let the calendar or those around you dictate how you should feel or when you should celebrate new beginnings. Instead of thinking in terms of the new year beginning on January 1, think in terms of your next year to begin whenever you feel the time is right. I imagine most of you have heard the expression, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Well, today or tomorrow or any day begins the next year of each of our lives. Any day could be the start of your next year. And if your next year gets off to a rough start, do your best to evaluate, make adjustments, and start your next year tomorrow or next week. You decide. After all, no matter when you decide to begin your next year, a year is 365 days, or a day longer if it happens to be a leap year. So if you're ready to celebrate the new year on January 1, great. Good for you and go for it. But if you aren't, feel free to ignore the calendar. Don't feel pressured by those around you. You decide when your next year begins. Make time for calmness, stillness, and reflection. And then, when you are ready, best wishes for a happy your next year.
We take up an offering every week in the middle of our worship service. We do it on purpose in this spot for a number of reasons, one of which is we need to remember every week that it is only the generosity, some would say the irrational generosity of the people of this congregation who make it possible, who keep the building in good shape and pay the staff and keep the congregation going for its members. We also do it because we give away money to organizations in the community that live out the values that we espouse. Today is the last of 4 Sundays in which that organization that we're giving money to, that we're sharing this offering with, is Socially Responsible Santa, a program of this congregation for the last several decades, which identifies people who at this hard and beautiful time of the year need extra help and raise money so that we can give it to them directly, because that's consistent with our values too. I've been giving you good news updates on Socially Responsible Santa every week, and I want you to know that as of a few days ago, that fund was very close to $5,000, $4,865, I think, a couple of days ago. And that's only true. That money is going to go directly to people who need it the most. It's only true because you believe enough in yourselves and in the generosity of people and in Burlington to believe that it's possible to make a difference. And you're making that happen. Thank you. This morning's offering will now be most gratefully received.
With gratitude, we dedicate these gifts in the service of our mission to inspire spiritual growth, care for each other and our community, seek truth, and act for justice.
So, Doug is right. There may be an official start to the year. There may be a date called January 1st when things begin again, but the reality is beginnings happen when we're ready and able for them. And it's important to remember that, probably especially this year. We need to give ourselves a break, give ourselves a little space. And in that space, we need to stay awake, pay attention to what's going on in the world, remember to find joy, to speak up and ask questions when we have them, and take it a little bit easy on ourselves and everybody else so the healing can continue and beginnings will happen when they happen. And there's another thing that's true. This idea that while we're giving ourselves space and time and finding joy and celebrating, we're also getting ready on some level that is way deeper than we're aware of. We're getting ready for new beginnings, even when we aren't working on that consciously, but we need to celebrate that and be aware that there is a new beginning. There's a new beginning for you, for all of us, for our country, for the world. I don't know when it will happen, but I know that it matters if we get ready for it. The Irish poet and mystic John O'Donoghue wrote a book that is a collection of blessings that he called To Bless the Space Between Us. I know that that collection is important to this congregation. It's important to me too. I'm going to share John O'Donoghue's reflection that he calls For a New Beginning. In out-of-the-way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time, it has watched your desire, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then the delight when your courage kindled, and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you.
Soon the day will arrive when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunderclouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Some have dreams, some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and our vision remains in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with new hope, not in sorrow, and a promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world that can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world that can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with the world until we are together again. Today's benediction is from the wonderful work of the author Barbara Kingsolver, who said, "The very least you can do in your life is to figure out what you hope for. And the most you can do is to live inside that hope. Not admire it from a distance, but live right in it, under its roof." Go in peace.
Thank you.